Welcome to the Ancient Coin Podcast with Aaron Berk, a show about ancient coins from the viewpoint of a seasoned professional with nearly 30 years' experience. Here's Aaron Berk and Mike Nottleman on the Ancient Coin Podcast.
And the sound of the gong means that it is once again time for the Ancient Coin Podcast with Aaron Berk. I'm Mike Nottleman.
I'm Aaron Berk.
A quick background for the podcast. So I work for Aaron as a U.S. numismatist in his family's coin store in Chicago, but I always have wanted to learn about ancient coins. So since I have one of the foremost authorities on ancient coins in the United States right here with me, I decided to ask Aaron if he'd teach me about ancient coins. And through these podcasts, you can learn with me. So on today's episode of the Ancient Coin Podcast, we'll discuss a couple of different strategies to be smarter when you purchase ancient coins. So it kind of shows us why it's not how much you spend, it's how you spend it. We'll gain yet another pearl for our necklace of wisdom from Aaron. We'll look at another Doofus purchase, but before we do all that, Aaron is going to take us through some auction highlights from big sales over the past 2 weeks. So Aaron, what was it that grabbed people's attentions this week?
Well, there's quite a few, and we are in auction season right now, and we have quite a few auctions still coming out. And so we're still waiting for the NAC auction to be posted. That should be coming soon. That's going to be the end of May. That's going to be the biggie. But in the meantime, there's some great auctions coming up. And I'm going to talk about two in particular. The first one is the Poice Auction, which some of you may have never heard of. But it's an auction house in Germany. Years ago was run by Wilhelm Mussler. He is now retired. But he always ran a tight ship and was very involved in the coin business. And so the Poice Auction, April 27th. So it's going to be the end of this month. And I just think it's got a lot of very nice high quality coins coming up in it. The first one I wanted to bring up was lot 3005.
Okay.
I think, Mike, if you've got that one up.
Yep.
Okay, so that's the Tarentum. And so these were minted in Italy, and there's a big group of these on the market right now. Most of them don't have very vibrant dyes, meaning it's usually just a youth on a horse and you have Tarsus on the reverse. And basically the story of this is that the city of Tarentum was founded by Tarsus. Tarsus was saved by a dolphin as he was drowning, and there's the Tarsus riding the dolphin back to the surface. And because they were big in Tarentum, they were big trainers of horses. They obviously have a lot of youths on horses, on horseback. So why I picked this one in particular, and why I try to stress why art is so important, is this coin is pretty minty, but it's not fully struck up. But look at the action that you can see on the obverse of this coin, Mike.
Well, you see everything on this coin. I mean, you see definition in the reverse on not only, the dolphin is separate from, is that Tarsus?
Yes.
Okay, so the dolphin is completely separate. You see a separation. And then the horse on the obverse is just so bold and really has a lot of, the muscles really come out at you.
But the thing that I really want to stress about this coin in particular is that you can actually feel the movement. You can see that the youth has a knee folded, his right knee is folded underneath. He's getting ready to jump off the horse. And so you can literally feel him moving off the horse. You can see the wind of the mane moving and his hair moving. On the reverse of this coin, you can see Tarsus is under the water, and so you can see the hair floating in the water. That when you get that type of artistry on coins, that's really what you want. That is like the pinnacle of what great art looks like.
And now I understand kind of where you've always been with it. This is independent of grade. This is about 100%. The art itself. This is about the definition on the coin. And even though this coin is lightly circulated and has been cleaned, it still looks fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, this is a series that's very common. I mean, if you were to open up any auction house's website right now, you'll find coins of Tarentum. There are a lot of them on the market right now, tons of them, but this is like one of those diamond in the roughs, one that doesn't come up very often. And so if somebody was going to go after a Tarentum coin, you want to go with something that's a little bit more unique that you never see. And so this is the type of thing you never see. So when I saw that, I was like, damn. And when
Yeah.
I say damn to a series that's pretty common, that's saying a lot.
Yeah.
So, I wanted to point that out because it really, shows the artistry that's going on with this type of coinage, and especially on a series that's so common. If we move on, Mike, and go to lot
3130.
3130.
Got it.
Okay, so the reason why I like this one, so again, Boeotia in Thebes, they typically will mint a shield on one side and you have an amphora on the other, if you know the series. This here you have Hercules, who is, so when Hercules was a baby, Hera sent 2 snakes to kill him. And of course, being that Hercules was half god, he manhandled the snakes and killed them. And so here we're showing the myth of Hercules on a coin that typically doesn't come up in this type of grade. And so you can get a normal Thebes with the shield and the amphora type might run you between $500 and $800. If it's really great style, it might run you $1,200 to $1,500. This coin's, they've got it estimated at 15,000 euros. It's probably what it's worth. It may go for 20. But it's just something you'd never see. You see, you don't see very often, basically. And so I wanted to point it out because, in any series of coins like the Tarentum coin or the Thebes coin or Alexander the Great, you're going to get really beautiful die types. And so when you see those die types that really stick out, they're the ones you want to remember.
And as far as the artwork on this one, the snakes look to be cobras. So, I mean, whether they are or not, at least to me, it has that kind of detail. I do have a question for you about the shield, though, on this coin. So, if you look at 6 o'clock, there's a slight split in the planchet, or what looks like a split in planchet, or the flan, or I should call it that, right?
Right.
But above that, there's a break in the shield. Is that due to the split in the flan?
No, that's just die.
Okay.
It's in the die wear.
Okay.
So you got to remember, as they're striking these coins, the die is breaking,
Right.
and
So you're
and so
saying
as
that
the
was
dies
just
are
a die
breaking,
crack.
you're gonna get die flaws.
Okay.
And so that's something to remember. I mean, it's one thing if the coin had porosity and it was breaking apart, but this coin has no porosity. You can tell porosity on a coin because it'll actually have little roughness in the fields, and it's got a lot of dimples on it.
Right.
And so this coin doesn't have any crystallization whatsoever. So that's strictly going to be a die flaw, and that's nothing to ever worry about. Even a flan split is nothing to really worry about because that was the way it was produced 2,000 years ago.
Sure.
It's not something that happened over time. So.
But given a choice of examples, you would clearly want one that does not.
100%. Yeah. So, Mike, if we go to the Trajan's column.
Yeah.
Okay. So, if any of you have been to Italy, you probably have seen or heard of Trajan's column. And so when Trajan in a couple of different battles with the Dacians, which was mostly Romania, along the Black Sea area, it took 2 battles to basically defeat them. And when he did, he brought back all kinds of tons and tons of silver and bronze to mint coins. But so if you go to on the Poice Auction lot 3448,
okay,
you will see Trajan's column on the reverse of the coin. And so what's really interesting, so the real Trajan's column has 155 different scenes from the battles of Dacia going around the column. Basically, it's pretty amazing that it survived today. A lot of ancient structures that we see on coins didn't always survive. And so here the coins are telling, showing the conquest of Trajan. And so this is a very popular type to collect, obviously for historical reasons and also because of architecture. So if you're into collecting architecture, Trajan's column is definitely one to go after. And if you go to the next lot, Mike,
Okay.
you can see that it also do it in bronze. And so that's a Deponius, just a little bit smaller. You have the Sestercius, which is the largest bronze coin, official imperial mints. Then you have the Deponius, which is a denomination down. You have the Ass, which is smaller denomination. Then you have a Quadrans as well. So I might be missing one, but the different periods had different denominations. But that was primarily the denominations for imperial. In Roman Republic and bronzes, we don't have those types of denominations. We do it by millimeter size. So in the provinces, you'll say a coin is AE 44 or AE 50. That just refers to that it's bronze and how many millimeters in diameter the coin is. But in the imperial, it's by weight.
Now, this bronze coin seems to not have quite the strike that the silver one does, particularly on the reverse. But
Yeah.
they both have detail in the column. The silver one is really, though, quite spectacular in how much detail it shows.
It is, and you'll get a lot of, this is, I think, the obverse is okay. I've seen better obverses, a little bit more quality in the face of Trajan, but the reverse is quite nice. And I've seen better coins than this, but it's you can see it's already, the estimate's 300, and they already have a bid up to 650. So
apparently going to go overestimate.
Yeah, which is, as we've talked, that's common, right? So, my guess is this coin will probably go between 1,500 and 2,000 euros in the end, and then you're paying your commissions on top of it. So, the bronze one, that's more typical, but the reverse is quite nice actually for the type because you have the whole figure there. I would say the obverse is just okay. But again, it's always great to have a two-sided coin, but as far as quality goes, but always the reverse is going to be the most important on this one.
Well, and in this particular case, the bust of Trajan on this coin is so deep that it's really a wonder that anything struck on the back at all.
Right. Yeah. And you have to be careful, you'll see a lot of in the coin groups, people will be talking about, you gotta remember, all ancient coins are cleaned. They all come out of the earth and Mother Earth is covering them. So they were all cleaned. And a lot of bronze coins are cleaned mechanically, meaning they use a scalpel. And so it's a matter of pulling the incrustation off without getting into the surface of the coin. That would be tooling or smoothing. So it's a very fine line, and somebody with a lot of expertise to be able to clean a coin without actually damaging the surface of the coin. Because you might get a worn coin, and they used to, when they used to find coins in some of the source countries back in the day, they'd find a really rare coin, but it was very worn. And then what they would do is they would cut into the die the fields around the figures to bring up the figures or the lettering to make it look like it was a better strike. And that, basically you're lowering the fields and raising the lettering in the image.
Sure.
That's a big no-no.
Yeah.
That's major tooling, and a lot of people will pay a lot less for a coin based on tooling. You can typically see it under magnification. You can see scratches in the edge of the coin in the fields, but you have to be you're never going to always, you can get a perfect coin, but it's not always so easy.
And on this particular coin, if you look at the reverse, there is some corrosion on it, where they've actually removed something from it.
Sure.
On the right hand side. So somebody did a really good job, but I would think that that this, looking in a natural state as it is, kind of exemplifies what you would look for in a legitimate.
Right. Or sometimes when they're tooling a coin, they may tool the hair, and let's say the hair is all worn out. Maybe they would basically invent cut and create hair. And that obviously when you're creating something that doesn't exist anymore in your own style, it's not necessarily a good thing. So
didn't he always have a mustache?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So moving on. So that's a good sale. Poice hasn't had a good one in a while, and as far as I know, and they got an excellent collection, and that's definitely worth checking out. Another one that you probably haven't heard of is Oslo Mythol or something along those lines. This is a Norwegian company.
Oslo Mythol.
Their auction is May 6th, and a lot of fantastic coins in the sale. A lot of fantastic coins. You got to get used to their money. It's in Norwegian kroners, I think it is. So that's so if you look at lot one, it's 25,000, which it's really about, I think, $10,000, something like that is their starting price, or less. So you got to have to do an exchange. You can go into coin archives and look up the sale, and it'll give it to you in dollars. But in Numisbids, it doesn't do that. So, but you can see they've got 1, 2, 3, 4 decadrams. That's lot 4, 5, 6, 7. They've got. Remember, we looked at the Carthaginian decadram last time with the Pegasus.
Mm-hmm.
That's lot 8. That's there. But what I wanted to point out was lot 14, coin you don't see very often, and that is the Athens Decadram. So you have the Athens Tetragram, which we've talked about so many times. So you see the lot 14, Mike?
Yes.
Okay. So on the Athens Decadram, the reverse, instead of a side profile of the owl, you have a facing owl. So this is the large. So this is a 41 gram coin. It's a big coin, right? They're very expensive. In high grade, they probably go for about $500,000, easy. But in the early 2000s, there was a lot of fakes that came on the market that a lot of people sold as real. We were one of them. We got tricked into buying one when everybody else did. We actually did a joint auction with Heritage at the time, and it was on the cover of the catalog, and we found out it was fake 3 days before the auction and pulled the coin.
Well, that's the right thing to do.
It was the right thing to do, but it was embarrassing.
Yeah.
And Heritage didn't like us too much because they don't do joint auctions too often.
Again, it was the right thing to do. So you always have that to fall back on. So I'm looking at this coin, and I will tell you the helmet is just unbelievably detailed. The whole thing that I don't know what they call that part of the helmet that has the pomp on it.
Crest. It's a crest.
Okay. So, I mean, that is just, it's unbelievable.
So you'd have a bronze helmet with a feather, like a crest along the top.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be, basically a wreath or a feather mane, I guess, if you will.
Sure.
So that's something you don't see very often. That's actually a real one. And so that's something that we haven't talked about before. And so I thought definitely worth seeing if you've never seen one before. And then I wanted to talk about lot 15 going on right from here. Lot 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. These are the very first coins ever minted. So that's the beginning of coinage.
Ever. Well, wait a minute. Okay, so the Decadram is selling or is starting at 1 million kroner. And the first coins ever minted are half that.
There's more of these coins than there are of Decadrams of Athens.
Okay. So, I mean, the artwork's way better anyway. But.
Yeah, so now, if you go to lot 23, you'll see it doesn't have the striated lines. It's just a blob.
Yeah.
To me, those are worthless. I wouldn't buy those or touch those with a 10-foot pole. I get them occasionally because they come in a collection. But if I was going to tell somebody to buy the first coin, it would not be that coin. I would buy one of the striated types, and they have them in all different denominations. You can see 148th state, 124th state, and they go all the way up to a stator. And the stators are expensive. I mean, a stator doesn't come up that often, and probably will sell for $50,000 easily, so or more.
So you're talking about lot 23, 24, 25 are those type with just kind of the blobby.
Yeah, I would stay around. To me, I mean, they're a lot cheaper, but to me, that's not really as. It's like you're missing part of the artwork as far as I'm concerned.
Well, you're missing
yes,
all
it's
of the artwork.
Well, it's the beginning of coinage, but it's just, to me, it's like
Yeah.
it's almost it's like it's missing the point. The point is the very first coins have the striated types, and so to me, that's the ones you want to go after.
So
That's
like
the
lot
ones
21,
my
22.
yeah. So in my dad's book of the 100 greatest, it's the striated types. You won't find the globular types in there because that doesn't make it one of the 100 greatest. So, but these are fun. So if you collect them, you can get them in the smaller denominations for a lot less. They might run you $1,000 or $1,500. Depends on how nice it is. The heavier ones can get pretty pricey. So, but I have plenty of people who just want ones to say that they have the first coin, and then I have people that want the whole set. So it just depends on what you want to do. And then moving on, something you never see, but lot 27 through 52, those are all shekels of tire. So they mention in the Bible the 30 pieces of silver that Judas got. And so people will collect, they'll try to get 30 pieces of silver, the 30 shekels. And so this is obviously was part of somebody's collection that had 30 pieces. There's more than 30 here, but still, and it's interesting to see so many in one shot. And so sometimes I think that shekels have gotten more expensive, but this might be a great sale to go into when you have so many being offered in one shot. You might have a good chance of picking one off for a lesser amount than if it was just 2 or 3 in the auction.
Yeah, I'm kind of browsing through them and looking at the years. So it's like Civic Year 40, Civic Year 52, Civic Year 35, 29. That's kind of. So
the dates are on the reverse of the coin, so they're all dated. And the ones that bring the most money are the ones that are during the crucifixion period. So the crucifixion of Christ is either between 30 and 33 AD, and so the ones that are dated during those periods go for stupid money because people want the ones that were minted during the crucifixion of Christ.
So that would be, let's see.
Like there's one that here says 33.
Phoenicia? Yeah, 33.
Yeah, they're all Phoenicia. They're all Phoenicia. But there's one 33, 34. They don't really, that's probably the only one they have. They put 15,000 starting price. But
right.
It's I just had one I sold that was not high grade, and I think we got around $2,500 for it. So in high grade, they can go for $5,000, $6,000, $7,000.
Wow.
So in that grade, but sometimes I think going after, like, if somebody lists 40 Athens, like you'll see a lot of times in auctions, you'll see 40 Athens Tetragrams being offered in an e-sale. Throw 10 bids out at some cheap bids out at 20 of them, if you're willing to get that many, but you won't. You'll end up getting like 2 or 3, but you'll get them at the price you want. There's no reason to go chasing coins when there's so many being offered. Just pick ones that you think are nice, throw a bid, and then leave, and don't chase it.
Yeah, because the last one is always going to be the highest priced. Because there are going to be people jumping on that one. Well, true, but I mean, my thought is the whole auction mentality where, people are, oh man, it's like, I want one of these. This is the last one. I got to go a little stronger.
Right. But I pick them up in e-auctions, and I'm buying them to resell. But I'll pick them up in e-auctions for $400 for a coin that I can sell for $800, $900, $1,000. So, but I might throw out 40 bids and get 2. So, but I'm doing it for resale. But it doesn't mean that, the rest of you guys that, if you see like this huge series of shekels here, there's no reason why you might have a good chance of getting one at a decent price when they're offering so many.
Yeah, and there's a lot of different ones here, so
Yeah.
I would think that there are plenty that will appeal to the average collector.
Yeah, absolutely. So moving on, let's go to the Doofus purchase. This is going to be the Kunker sale.
Yep, got it.
Okay.
7088.
So this is a coin of Istris, and you can see the estimate was 200 euros. That's about what it's worth. It's worth about $300 to $400 retail. This one for 3,200 euros, not including the 20% commission on top. So you're looking at almost $5 grand for this coin.
Wow.
And I was actually bidding in the auction when this coin went off, and I was getting ready to shut off my computer because I was done bidding for my client, or clients, I should say. And I saw this go, and I was like, "Oh, Doofus."
Yeah. So you hung around to watch it?
This coin is not slabbed. It's raw. It's as common as dirt. It's okay. It's nice, but it's not great. It's not the best one I've ever seen.
Well,
I do not understand why somebody would spend $5,000 for that.
Because they don't know this coin.
But there was two people.
Okay. Well, yeah, it always takes two. It takes two in an auction to drive something up beyond what it should be. But I mean, the coin itself is beautiful. But
these are you can find them anywhere.
Yeah.
We used to buy these. We could buy Istris drams like that. You could buy 50 or 60 at a time for 40, 50, 60 bucks a piece. They're not expensive coins by any mean. They're so common. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So and a lot of them look like this. This one blew my mind. It's not even a coin that's popular to collect. It's okay. A lot of people will spend $500 on one, but they don't want to spend more than that. So to spend $5,000 on one, that one just, wow. That might actually be the Doofus of the year purchase.
Well, we'll have to pay attention to those.
I'm gonna have
score on them.
I'm gonna have a top 10, and that's definitely up there. There's some coins where you're like, okay, it's 12 Caesars, okay, it's this, okay, it's that, okay, somebody paid a ridiculous amount because they had a star, but somebody else might buy because it has a star. This coin, if it goes back to auction, it's going to sell for $500. You're not going to get unless somebody is pulling the wool over somebody's eyes. This will never sell for that price tag ever again. So it's mind-boggling. But I guess,
somebody had to have this one.
Somebody had to have it. Yeah, that's it.
They had to have this
one. I wanted to get into strategy of collecting ancients. We've talked a lot of strategy on this show before. And I was talking to a client recently. It was a big client, and he spends $100,000. He can spend $100,000 on a purchase. And he said to me he wanted to trade in a coin that he had bought that didn't have a pedigree to buy one that did have a pedigree. And I said to him, that makes no sense, because the coin that he bought, most of them in the market, it was an octodram of Egypt, and most of them do not have pedigrees. There isn't a lot of them that have them. And so when they do have them, yes, they'll go for stronger money, but now you're going to be bending over backwards to get a piece, and you're going to spend a lot of money on it that you probably won't recoup when you go to sell the coin.
So does this go right back to the last one we were talking about, and it becomes you have to have that one, and that's going to cost you money?
Well, I think when you're competing against people, look, there are a lot of different collectors out there. There are some collectors that are just in it for the fun, and then there are collectors that are in it for the investment portion of things. My father and I, we have always, I think anybody who sells coins as investments, they're ripping you off. because no one can say that your coins are going to go up if you buy them from me. No one has a crystal ball for that. Just like we sell bullion in our store, but we don't tell people, well, you should buy gold now because it's going to go up. We're not wearing a suit and a tie. We're not investment brokers. That's not what we do. We sell coins at market price.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you say to me, is this a logical purchase for, that I'm going to possibly get my money out in 5 or 10 years, then I would say, yeah, this is probably a good purchase for you. It doesn't mean that if you buy all pre-1970 pedigrees that you're going to get your money out, because you could be fighting against somebody who has all the money in the world like you, but they don't care if they make money on their coins. And so they don't care what they pay, right? And so if you're doing it from purely investment strategy for yourself, then I don't think you should just always buy pre-1970 coins. It's a good thing if you can get them, but don't pay out the nose for them because you won't get your money back out of it, right? And finally, I have a lot of clients that bought always raw, non pre-1970 pedigree coins 10 years ago that are making big bank right now because the market's hot in specific areas. And so those coins didn't have to be pedigreed. And in fact, I would say there's more collectors for coins that are not pre-1970 because yes, there'll be a little bit less money than the pre-1970, but you're going to have a lot more collectors who can afford to buy it, where you're going to make money. Whereas as soon as you get that pre-1970 and a really rare $50,000 or $100,000 coin, the amount of collectors narrows down. And so you always want to have something that everybody wants, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of my pearl of wisdom, is that you have to look at it from a dealer's perspective, right? Whenever you're buying coins, you can look at it from your collector, what you're looking to do as a collector, but you always have to have an out game of what your out game is. If you don't care about it, then that's fine. If you're doing it for investment, you're speculating on coins, then you have to buy coins the way a dealer would buy a coin, okay? Which means whenever I buy a coin, I already know what my profit margin is going to be because I already know where I need to be on the coin to make money because I've been doing it long enough. I also know that as a dealer, I'm not going to collect one specific area unless that area is really, really, really hot, or a hot area that's always hot, like, like Sicilian coins are always hot. Roman gold, 12 Caesars, always hot. That kind of stuff you can pretty much bank on for the most part. But I always find that the collectors that I work with that don't know what they want to collect, if they buy one coin, every coin that they buy, no matter if it's Greek, Roman, Byzantine, provincial, as long as it's the highest quality they can get and it's going to turn a head every time a dealer looks at it, then you're going to be doing fine. And so I have one collector in particular who spends $5,000 every purchase, sometimes more, but he wants the best quality and he'll only buy ones that I suggest to him. And so I won't suggest a coin that I wouldn't sell him that I think is not fantastic. And then when we went back over his collection, he started collecting about, I would say 6 years ago, all of his coins went up 30%. And that's not something that I planned. I'm not an investment guy. It's just that I sold him coins that I loved. And then he developed his own eye as well, because we're developing the eyes together, right? Like, remember I mentioned about developing your eye and using a dealer? Well, now I have collectors that I've worked with for 10, 15, 20 years who now have developed the same eye because
they understand what you're
eyes.
looking for. And so now they've started looking for that same thing.
Exactly.
I think the other thing that you're not saying, but is really important to this, is that you have, if you're doing this with any type of return in mind. So it's like, there are two different types of collectors in this. There are the people that are nerding out on it and just want it to have it, don't care what happens to it after they die. They're never going to sell it. That's one type of collector. Then there's the type that are going to sell it someday, and they realize they're going to sell it someday, so they're trying to maximize their return on it. I think the thing that's missing is that you have to learn to become an opportunity buyer. It's not about, it is not about, I want this coin. It's what's available today and what can I buy at the right price? And then learning to look
You're
at,
absolutely correct.
Yeah, look at what it is. And then when you find an exceptional example, that's a great day. It may not be what you collect, but if you know what you're doing and you know enough about it, you're like, no, that's something I need to add to my collection.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. Being opportunistic is something I always tell my clients. You're absolutely correct. I do that all the time. And because, it's funny too, some people have want lists, right? And it's okay to have a want list. I think that's great to have direction. But I have one client that his want list has changed about 1,000 times in the last 20 years because guess what? He sees something he didn't think he knew about all the time. So his want list needs change all the time. And sometimes a coin will come up or an antiquity will come up and he'll say, wow, I got to have that. That's an opportunistic buy, right? It's not something he was expecting to buy. It's not on his want list, but he sees it. He knows the quality is high and it's something that he's got to have.
And I will tell you, I think that there's a lot of enjoyment through those pieces, on pieces that you discover, that you just kind of stumble across, that you may not have known anything about, that you look at, oh man, look at what I picked up, man, this is great.
Right. I mean, there's nothing wrong with collecting a series, and that's entertaining, and can be very rewarding from a numismatic side of things. But I think that I always tell my clients, don't buy coins as an investment. And coming from a coin dealer, it may not be the best thing to say, but it's because I'm not bullshitting my clients.
Yeah, no, that's true, though.
Yeah, I think that you have to go in it with the idea that you're having fun and that you're not wasting your money, that you're going to recoup it back. Maybe you'll make money on certain things and other things you're going to lose money on, but overall you're enjoying it. You're not throwing your money away. I mean, a lot of people will go and
what would you have paid to go do other things? Right.
I mean, you can go to a Linea in Chicago and spend $1,200 on your dinner for one person.
Sure.
And in the end, you have a great experience, but it all went out through your belly.
Yeah.
Right. And so you could take that same money and buy a coin, and let's say in 5 years, you end up selling it for the same amount that you bought it for. You got enjoyment out of it, and you got your money back.
Right. So that's a profit.
So, there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
And so I just think that, one time a doctor came to my dad and said, if I give you $2 million, can you guarantee me a profit in X amount of years? And my dad said, no, couldn't do it.
That's not the way it works.
Right. And I think it can be done, but you have to be opportunistic. You have to be patient.
And you have to be incredibly lucky.
And lucky. Yeah, lucky. I get coins in auction all the time for really cheap prices. And that's me. Look, me buying a coin as a dealer out of an auction and then making money on it doesn't mean I overcharge for the coin. It means I bought it below market, brought it back to market properly, found the right person that didn't see it in the auction, and they bought it at my price. Not that I gouged them, but because I was opportunistic and bought a coin that no one else saw or didn't appreciate or whatever the case might be.
The fact that you were able to find it under market, that's where your margin is, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
No.
So,
and so I thought it was important to kind of, and I think we'll constantly come back to this theme constantly because, I think no matter what you're buying, you always look, if you buy a lot of, and I've talked about this, if you buy a lot of low end coins, then the dealer, when he sees them again, he's not going to be excited. He's going to pay you half of what you paid him for it because he's going to have to sit on them for 5 years. Maybe he gets rid of them in 2 years. Maybe he gets rid of them in 10 years. But the profit margin has to be strong so that he can discount it at a very, strong discounted price. And if he sells at full price, then be rewarded for putting out that kind of money. A large amount of money for common low-end coins.
And as much as I don't want to go into the business of pontificating on things because I'm rookie at this, but at the same time, I think that if you buy coins with the thought that at some point I'm going to sell them, and it's like, okay, so this one I sold it for less than I paid for it. Man, that's bad. I sold this one, I didn't get what I paid for it. Man, that's not what it's about. It's when you buy the coin, you have an idea that, look, this is a coin that somebody's going to want someday. The market is going to change between now and then. So you have no real control over the investment part of it. But if you're smart about how you buy, and you buy things that are generally desirable and are generally high quality, you're never going to have a problem selling them.
No,
And you will
absolutely
realize
not.
market for it. So I think that a lot of people just have the wrong perspective on it from the standpoint of it's about, well, what did I pay for it and what do I get for it? It doesn't really matter that much.
Well, and the other thing that people forget is you have to look at your collection as a whole, right? I have some collectors understand this and a lot of them don't. They say I don't want to lose money on any of my coins, right? Well, if I have one coin that I make $1,000 profit on, and I have one coin that I lost $200 on, then you
You're
average
still up
that out.
$800.
You can change your cost basis. Again, this is about back to the pearl of wisdom. This is about thinking and buying and selling like a dealer, right? Because I will buy a collection, and let's say I do great on some of the stuff and I have it all costed out, and then later on I might change my cost basis on the coins I still have left. So why? So that I can lower the price on those coins, still make money. I just transferred my cost codes around and my profit margins around. And so I was just talking to a collector about this, and he was saying, oh, I overpaid for this coin. I'm like, yeah, but he had bought a Decadram from me like in 2008, and he paid like $8,000 for it, and now it's worth $20,000. And I said to him, just raise your cost on that coin up to $12,000 or $13,000. You're still making plenty of money, and now you've got plenty of other, wherever you may feel like you made a mistake, you can change your cost basis.
Well, I think I could identify with what he's talking about, because what he's talking about is, look, that's a huge win, right? I don't want to lessen my, no, it all works out. It's all added together. It's one big pile.
It's one big pile. At the end of the day, did you make money?
Right.
Or did you lose money? And so
because you're not going to make money on everything, and thank God you won't lose money on everything either.
Well, there's certain, the clients that say I never want to lose money. Well, guess what? It might take, maybe it takes years to sell all the coins off, because it takes finding the right collector to buy a coin maybe that they made a mistake on. Whereas you could have just sold it out quickly, use that money for something else instead of sitting on it for a couple extra years.
Well, and how are you supposed to figure out what's going to go up in value? That's the thing I can't, the people just can't get their head around. You can't know. There's just no way. If I knew that, I wouldn't be helping people buy coins. I'd be buying them for me.
Right. Like, look, if I see a coin that I know I can sell for $1,000 all day long, and I buy it in an auction or from some individual for $600, well, I know I've got $400 profit ready to go whenever I want. Mm-hmm. Right. I have that set in my mind. And then as prices change, I'm watching auctions all the time. And as I see trends change, your pricing model in your head changes. It's not rocket science. It's just a matter of knowing what, watching the trends and watching where things are going.
You got to pay attention.
And you have to pay attention, because in such a small market like the ancient market, it can go very quickly one direction or the other. It's amazing how fast it can change. And so, like I can tell you Byzantine gold 2 years ago, hot as hell. Now, I don't think Byzantine gold is as hot as it was. I think it's softened up a little bit, just a little. Stuff that was flying off the shelves isn't flying off the shelves as much anymore. And so, and it's just a matter of how many clients got fulfilled, right, before they stopped needing those coins anymore, right? And so it can change very, very, very quickly. And it's just a matter of being in tune with the market. Whether you're a dealer or a collector, you still have to be in tune. If you don't have the time, then then piggyback on a dealer like myself or anybody else who's been in the business and is used to dealing with auctions and retail and wholesale, so that they understand and they know what's happening all the time, and sometimes we don't know, like I might, I might be talking to my dad, and he'll say, "Oh, that's too expensive." And I was like, "No, look at the auctions. The prices have changed." And he'll go and he'll look, and you're right.
Well, and
Oh my
therein
God.
lies the value of a dealer, regardless of your level of knowledge. You can be really knowledgeable about things and have a great eye for
Mhm.
things, but if you don't have your ear to the ground on what's going on right now, there are markets that'll move and you'll miss it.
Right. I mean, my job when I'm representing clients is to tell them where I think that their bid should land, that they're not so stupid, but still competitive to win the lot. So I have to be their crystal ball for them. Right. And so when something goes for a fraction of what I said, it doesn't mean I was wrong. It just means it went cheap, you know and so I don't try to put all of my clients into ridiculous price coins. That's not my goal. But sometimes coins go cheap.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is.
Mhm.
So for whatever reasons. Moving on. I wanted to talk a little bit about, and this is, I could do 3 shows on some of these areas, but I'm just going to quickly kind of go through the coins of the Roman Republic period. I think that it's a very undervalued market. And I'm talking about the Roman Republican silver. So Mike, this is before the Roman Empire took off.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure.
So, and really, in the beginning of the Roman Republic period, you had different moneyers that were basically they were appointed. They were usually of the wealthy class, and they would control the coin production. They would be making the laws and do the judicial parts of things. Um, they would decide on the different coin types. They would put their family names on them. Um, but at the beginning of the Republican period, it was mostly what was indigenous, the metal that was indigenous to Italy at the time, and in Etruscan cities, and that was bronze. And so you have what was called os signatums and os graves, these big cast coins. So most coins we know are struck, but in the early Roman Republican period, they actually did cast bronzes. So they literally would cast large size coins, as well as bars called signatums, which are extremely rare. But they weren't very usable for spending because they were so big and heavy. And it wasn't until the Italians conquered Syracuse that they started to bring in silver from people that they conquered. And so they brought in millions and millions of pounds of silver and started minting the denarius around 200 BC. Okay. And so the denarius then was minted for another 400 years, all the way up into the Roman Empire. And so there you have all these different moneyers with different gods and types that were minted on coins. And a lot of the Republican silver denarii you can get from anywhere from $50 up to $250 for a decent coin. And in fact, in the 1930s, if you got a collection of very worn Roman Empire gold or silver, the Republican coins would always be the only coins in the collection that were mint state, because people didn't pay big money for them back then. And so if you didn't have a lot of money to spend, you could get mint state Republican denarii, and that's true today as well. You can get really nice high grade Republican coins for not a lot of money. It's a fun area to collect. There's I don't know if you brought up any of the links yet, Mike.
Actually, I was on the Andrew McCabe Ancients.
Okay, so Andrew McCabe is a scholar living in England. He's very, very good at the Republican period. And I wouldn't say the site's that well done, but it has a lot of different information on here, different books that you can buy, different articles that were written on the Roman Republican period. And so this is probably a good area to start. in my opinion, the best book on Roman Republican coinage is the book that was minted by Crawford in, I believe, 1972 or 74, and it's still used today to catalog Roman Republican silver coins. And then if you go to the next link, which is the list of the money earners, Mike.
Yep.
So this is a good site. It's not the fastest site, but it's Coin Project. It's done by the owner of Angora. This is Alfredo De La Fe, and nice guy. And he's been working on this project I bet he's been working on it for 20 years. I would not be surprised. But he lists all coins, but here we've got the Roman Republican issuer list. You can also find it in Wikipedia, but he has images of some of the coins as well. But he has all of the money earners listed here. So it's useful if you want to see in a snapshot all of them listed, where you want to go and start collecting them all. But they're very cool types, because you get quadriga types. You get, there's the mythological types. There are different historical things going on at the time. And all the way up until Julius Caesar, where the moneyers were minting coins with Julius Caesar's image on it. So, as well as Brutus and Mark Antony and people like that, all the way up until the imperatorial stage. But I find the Roman Republican period to be a very exciting area to collect. They're not expensive in silver. They're even cheaper in bronze, but the bronze are kind of boring. And the bronze coins are, unless you're buying the Osgravs, which are nice, the regular smaller denominated coins just typically will have a Janus head, which is going to have the two heads faced back to back, with a prow of a ship on the reverse. Typically, there's other types as well, other denominations, but to me, buying the silver is a lot more exciting. So I don't know if you hit any of the links at all, Mike.
I tried.
You can see, he lists if you go to any of them, he usually will have the references. So here, Crawford, like I mentioned, Sydenham is another good one as well. But the one that primarily people use today is Crawford. That is probably the best. It's a 2-volume set. It's out of print, but you can find it. It's not so expensive, but definitely if you collect, you can also get the books by Sear. There's Roman Republican book 1, which is also very good as well. Also has the listings as well. You can get an older edition of it, probably I bet you can get it for $30. So that's also a very good book as well, the Sear book. So, but Crawford was pretty interesting. I think he's still alive today, but he published the book on Roman Public Coin, I believe, when he was around 27, is what I was told recently. So pretty big feat for somebody of his age.
Well, I mean, that's just a mountain of information, right? Just an absolute mountain.
Right. And so, if you love mythological, you love horses, and you like people fighting on coins, and you like helmeted victories and Athenas and all kinds of cool stuff like that. They have a rape of Sabaean women on there, and all kinds of crazy reverse types. And obviously there's some that are extremely rare that go for stupid money. And then there are a lot of just really cool common types that you can get for under $300, and
a little something for everybody.
Yeah, and a lot of the e-sales have them for really inexpensive prices. So I love the area, and I'm learning every day with it, like the rest of you. So because you can only know so much, and so every time you get a new coin, you learn something different. And so that's I believe it's an area that is not. It's gotten more popular in the last 15 years, but it's still very affordable, and there's a lot of coins out there to buy in silver. So I have to point that out.
Yes.
So Mike, that's kind of the end of my show. I I don't really have anything else to add here today.
Well, I think you've added quite enough. I think you gave them their money's worth today.
Yeah, you guys said you wanted an hour and a half show.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if we're there, but
No, we're an hour.
I tried.
We're an hour. He tried.
I tried.
Yeah,
I tried.
So no, I like this, and I think that I'm finally starting to get a couple of these things. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, I mean, look, guys, Mike is just like you. Some of you, he doesn't know anything. You may say that he's not, he doesn't add anything to the show, but I beg to differ.
Thanks.
I beg to differ.
Thanks.
So because with him asking questions, it's like it's no different than me being at a show or in my store and having somebody come in who doesn't know anything and teaching them. So to me, this is just getting the feedback that I need to be able to produce and to teach you guys about coins. Otherwise, just me talking the whole time, which I can do, but it's not necessarily the best way to run a show. So thanks, Mike, for everything you do to bring everything you bring to the show.
Oh, well, thanks, Aaron, and thanks for teaching me all this good stuff.
Absolutely.
Let's see. We now have a production staff, so thanks to our production staff, and thanks for listening. We really appreciate it. And let's see. This is episode what? 9, 10?
9.
9. Okay. So for the 10th anniversary, or for our 10th show, we're gonna have new graphics. New graphics coming your way.
We are. And if any of you guys are going to Central States, which is next week, my dad and I will be at Central States we'll have a table there, so you can come find us. Come say hello.
I'll be walking the show on Thursday.
Yes, Mike is walking the show. Come show us your treasures. We always like to see your treasures. And we'll see you at the next show, and we'll see you next time at the next show, at the next podcast.
There you go. So thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you next time on the Ancient Coin Podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Ancient Coin Podcast with Aaron Berk. We'll return with another episode soon. Meantime, you can join our private group on Facebook. Just go to facebook.com and search the Groups tab for Ancient Coin Podcast Discussion Group and ask to join. There you can become part of our community, where we share and discuss ancient coins, as well as the show, the ancient coin market, auctions, or just to give our own opinions on things in order to learn together. Join Aaron and Mike again soon for the next episode of the Ancient Coin Podcast with Aaron Berk.